Switching gears to politics, speaking at the NATO summit earlier today, President Trump disputed an early U.S. intelligence report on the effectiveness of U.S. strikes on Iran last weekend. He also said the U.S. will meet with Iran next week. Meanwhile, back here at home, the Trump administration now planning to dismiss asylum claims for potentially hundreds of thousands of migrants right here in the U.S. Joining us to discuss this and so much more, Mr. Armen Kurdian, U.S. Navy captain retired and California State Senate candidate. Always good to see you, my friend. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Sky. Thanks again for having me.
All right, big day in politics. Let's jump right into it. President Trump said the attack on Iran was a success and that the program is now set back several years. That program I'm making reference to, the nuclear program, whereas others say the damage is somewhat limited and will only set back the Iran program several months. What say you, sir?
I think the truth is somewhere in between. It's definitely going to be at least a few years. When you look at the facilities, you're looking at the screen right there. A lot of that damage in those buildings has been done. The real question is how many centrifuges were destroyed? Where is all of the highly enriched uranium at this point? It's not necessarily a bad thing if it's still in one piece, because you don't want it scattered all over the place, or perhaps in the hands of another country. So Iran may use that as a bargaining chip, or may be willing to trade that away for other concessions. So it's definitely been retrograded significantly. I think there's no question of that. And those underground facilities at Natanz and Fordo are probably no longer useful to anybody.
Yeah, Mr. Kurdian, one of the other things that the president made mention of during that more than an hour-long press conference earlier today at NATO that was somewhat shocking to me is that the president stated that prior to striking back at America, Iran notified the U.S. that they were planning an attack by launching some 14 missiles at a U.S. base. He went even further to say that they were able to remove all of the U.S. troops from harm's way. Is that somewhat shocking for you?
Not necessarily, although I think there's a part of me that wonders whether this was planned and intentional to let the U.S. know about the attack, or whether these are just a few members of the Iranian military or regime that understood what might happen if there were some serious U.S. casualties. But we were able to defend themselves. Iran was able to show its people that it was striking back and save face, and now there is a ceasefire. So it looks like it all worked out in the end.
I'm going to tell you, it's truly interesting. Speaking of interesting, let's move on to Russian President Vladimir Putin and President Trump. Earlier, yet again at the NATO summit, we know that a reporter posed the question to Mr. Trump as to whether or not Putin happened to be an enemy. The president declined to respond. We do know that the reporter also posed the question as to whether or not Putin has, let's say, additional ambitions to move further than the Ukraine, I should say. Trump said that may very well be the case. What say you, sir?
I think my favorite quote of the week is when Vladimir Putin was saying that the U.S.'s action in Iran was against international law. And I'm just going to let that comment just sort of sit there for a little bit. Vladimir Putin is right now, he is the one who is the enemy of the world. He is not able to make any traction or progress in Ukraine. He is throwing 30 to 40% of his economy, a country 4 times the size of Ukraine in terms of economic output and people, and he cannot make progress. So he's in a really bad situation right there. He's trying to find a way to look magnanimous on the international stage about trying to mediate peace between Iran and the U.S. And, maybe he'll be able to do that. I don't know if he will, but it certainly should not change anyone's opinion of that regime in that country.
Yeah, speaking of the NATO summit, we know that President Trump stating earlier today that he's now leaving the NATO summit with a different view of the alliance. After a NATO summit tailored to his preferences, the president said, well, he departed, and, well, quite honestly, I was more impressed than what I thought I was going to be.
Well, going back to my last answer, I think Donald Trump has Vladimir Putin to thank for a lot of that, considering the threatening actions that he's obviously invaded Ukraine and the other kinds of things that he's going on. The Western European nations are not excited about having Russia as a neighbor. So it is within their best interest to spend more on their militaries. The state of some of those Western European militaries was not very good before Trump came and basically forced them to start spending more back in 2016, 2017. So he's done them a little bit of a favor and saying, look, you guys got to take care of your own business here. You can't rely on us all the time. The vice president even said when we were going after the Houthi rebels recently, he didn't want to keep bailing out the Europeans, which is, I think, a fair statement. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done in the world, but like, say, for example, if Iran had closed the Straits of Hormuz, if we'd still be shooting, then it really would be incumbent upon Japan, Western Europe, and other nations to help the United States patrol those regions and keep those straits open. It cannot always be the United States. We can lead, but everyone else has to be there in order to follow.
Mr. Armen Kurdian, yet again, U.S. Navy captain retired and political strategist, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, my friend.
Happy Hump Day.